Hey guys, today we're taking a look at Sampo. Sampo's a 4-star wind type character. I don't really know how to categorize him, so I'm just not going to try. But his kit is pretty unique, so let's take a look at it. First we have his basic, nothing special there. I have a 50% attack to single enemy. So his skill is kind of a random target thing. It hits the target enemy one time and then it bounces randomly up to 4 times. And then each of these hits does 28% of his attack as wind damage. That's at level 1, of course. So you're guaranteed to hit the target enemy once, and then everything after that is random. So a couple things about this that I've noticed in my limited testing. The first hit hits the target enemy that you choose, and then after that it bounces 4 times, so it's 5 hits. And also, if there's only one enemy on the field, all of the hits will go to that one enemy. So with the description of the skill, maybe you think like it needs to have 2 enemies to bounce in between, but it doesn't need 2 enemies. If there's one enemy on the field, it'll just all hits will go to that one enemy. Okay, Sampo's ultimate. It's an AoE, it does 96% of its attack to all enemies, and then it has a 100% base chance to increase the damage over time effects by 20%. So this applies to all damage over time effects, so that would be his and other characters. Okay, next is Sampo's talent, and this is where his kit gets interesting. So all of Sampo's attacks have a 65% base chance to inflict wind shear, and wind shear is basically Sampo's damage over time effect. Wind shear is 20% of his attack for 3 turns, and this can stack up to 5 times on an enemy. 65% base chance, as you can see. Every single one of Sampo's attacks has the chance to inflict damage over time, so this stacks up over time as the fight goes on, and you'll see later how we can build this up and get those stacks quicker. And lastly, we have Sampo's technique. It's an impair ability. He throws a flash bomb and it blinds the enemy that you see in the open world for 10 seconds, and then if you attack the enemy while they're blinded, once you enter the fight, there's a 100% fixed chance to delay all enemies' actions by 25%. Alright, let's take a look at his bonus stats, all the extra bonus stats that he gets as you level him up. I know previously I've gone around the circle, it just seems a little tedious, so I'm just going to tell you. He gets 5 attack boosts, 3 effect hit rate boosts, and then 2 effect resistance boosts. So for Sampo's bonus abilities, we have the first one. It extends the duration of wind shear by 1 turn. This is his DOT effect. That means wind shear lasts 4 turns now with this. His second bonus ability, his ultimate regens 10 energy. And lastly, for his third bonus ability, enemies with wind shear deal 15% less damage to Sampo. Alright, next we're going to take a look at his light count, and I think this is where you can really boost Sampo's value as a unit. So his path is the Nihility, and as of right now, there's only 2 4-star light counts that we know about. We have Sampo's signature and then one other. We're going to go over both of them, but before I go over both of them, I want to say that I believe Sampo's is better, but once we go over them, we'll talk about why after. So Sampo's signature light cone, it's called the Eyes of the Prey. Increases effect hit rate by 24% and then increases DOT damage by 24%. Okay, for the alternate light cone, we have Good Night and Sleep Well. This increases damage dealt to enemies with debuffs, and then for every debuff they have, it increases damage by 12% up to 3 times, and then this also applies to DOT. So obviously, if the enemy has max debuffs, this is 36% damage increase, as opposed to the 24% from Sampo's. But I think Sampo's is better, and here's why I think that. Eyes of the Prey has a flat DOT damage increase, and it doesn't rely on the enemies having debuffs already. So Good Night and Sleep Well, you can get up to 36% damage increase, but only if they have 3 debuffs. So I think Eyes of the Prey is better. I think you'll get more consistent damage from Eyes of the Prey. And also on top of the 24% damage increase, I think it's worth taking the hit to get the increased effect hit rate. So if you remember how Sampo's wind shear works, at level 1 has a 65% base chance of inflicting on every single hit. You equip this light cone, you have a 24% extra effect hit rate, and then if you have like just a couple of bonus stats from his traces, you should be close to a 100% base chance to inflict wind shear, like around there. So you'll be inflicting wind shear on almost every single hit. You'll just be stacking up wind shear. Being able to almost guarantee wind shear in every single hit is a lot more valuable than temporarily increasing damage against certain enemies with a certain number of debuffs, if that makes sense. Lastly, let's take a look at his Eidolon levels. So level 1, when you use his skill, the throwing dagger gains 1 more bounce. This goes from 4 times to 5 times, so you hit him once and then it bounces 5 times. Now, level 2, which I think is honestly the strongest. When an enemy with wind shear is defeated, there's a 100% base chance to impose 1 stack of wind shear on all enemies. I think this level is probably the strongest out of all of them, because it's not an enemy defeated by wind shear, it's just an enemy with wind shear is defeated. This is just a lot of stacks of wind shear really easily, I think. Every time you defeat an enemy, you're increasing the damage on everyone else, or further ramping up your damage. Level 4, when his skill hits an enemy with 5 or more stacks of wind shear, it immediately deals 10% of its current damage. So dealing 10% of its current damage is reduced damage, but it still allows you to exceed the 5 limit stack. So if you remember, the wind shear can stack up to 5 times, but if you exceed that, it'll take away one of the stacks and then deal 10% of its current damage immediately, as opposed to keeping it as DOT. So it's reduced, but it keeps the stacks of wind shear max while still doing damage. So you don't just like lose out on the damage that you get from wind shear, you get a little bit and it refreshes the stacks. And then lastly, level 6 increases the damage multiplier of wind shear by 10%. So obviously a lot of Sampo's damage comes from his wind shear, so this is strong as well. I think level 2 and level 6 are the biggest jumps in power. I think level 2 has the best value since it's a low level, it's only level 2. I think having this extra way to inflict wind shear on all enemies constantly is really strong. So that's it for Sampo's kit. As you can see, it's pretty unique. He gets a lot of damage from his damage over time wind shear. And not only that, I know we like kind of just brushed over it quickly, but his ultimate increases the damage of DOT effects by 20%, and that works for other DOT characters. So pretty much all lightning characters can inflict DOT, I'm pretty sure. At least that's what I've noticed. It doesn't need to be specifically a DOT effect. They just all inflict shock. I don't know if that works for all the other elements or not. So your other 4-star DOTs, like Herda can inflict Frozen. I don't know if that does DOT. But you have Hook, that's 100% DOT, and then you have Serval. And then 5 stars, you have like Jane, Kafka. He would be amplifying the damage of all of those characters. But anyways, I'm done rambling. If you have any questions, let me know. But make sure to subscribe if you like the video. And follow me on Twitch, link down below. I stream almost every night. But otherwise, thanks for watching. See ya.